Back with more Once Upon a Time. This is episode 8 of season 5. I'm very excited to continue, see what's going to be happening next. Last episode we got a lot of backstory with Merlin and Nimue and the fact that she was the first Dark One, which was a really cool kind of exploration of those characters. Obviously kind of a tragic twist to it as well, as, you know, is the norm for basically all Once Upon a Time backstories. And yeah, I'm interested in seeing where things will go next with Emma, with Zelena. She's still causing a bit of a ruckus, with Arthur as well. Everything going on there, and to see more flashbacks to Camelot. I assume we'll be getting more of those. Either way, really liking where this arc is going so far, and I feel like we're getting, you know, quite close to the middle of the season. So I think things are going to ramp up even more than they already are. Because I feel like last episode in particular, things were kind of going, so I imagine that momentum will probably continue as we head to what I'm assuming, if following the formula of the last couple of seasons, could be nearer the end of this arc as we approach halfway through the season. But, you know, they may change things up. But either way, very excited, so let's get into it.
And if our dishonest king should put up a fight? I'll make him wish he hadn't.
He'll weasel his way out of it when he... Oh my god.
Seems you brought a hook to a sword fight. Actually, I brought a sword, but I seem to have misplaced it.
Yeah.
Shame.
Oh shit.
This sword doesn't control anyone now.
Yeet.
And I know that despite everything, you always have your reasons!
You're right, I do! You want to know why I'm doing all this?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I'm doing it for you.
Granny, let's close up shop. One step ahead of you. Henry, lock the front,
Yeah.
lock the back.
Oh.
I will need your dagger and the Promethean flame.
No.
Then he will order me to kill your family and Emma as much as I hate it.
Oh.
I will obey. Do not make the same mistakes as Nimue.
Definitely not.
So we figure out what that is and stop her from getting it.
And we get our Emma back.
You can all look at magic spells, see you playing the face.
Aw, Emma.
Something happened between me and... I'm not that man anymore. Well, you can...
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
I became the Dark One to save my son. Committed countless sins along the way. Convinced myself I would atone for them all once I'd found her.
That went well.
But things never work out the way you think they will. I've been looking all over for her. She doesn't want to be found. Then you have to give her a reason to find you.
Just give me a reason.
Merlin said you can only like that when you're ready to let go of the darkness.
Yeah.
A little project Hook and I were working on. Operation Light Swarm.
Uh-huh.
Looking for a house you'd like. So when we get back home...
Wholesome.
ask me to move in. I don't want to give up the darkness, not yet.
What?
I need to use it one last time.
One last time, then never again, I'm sure.
Okay, steady on.
Oh.
Something's wrong.
How's this happen? You're only 2 months pregnant.
How do you think? Dark magic.
Who's dark magic?
Oh. Is Emma, like, making the pregnancy go faster?
Belonged to a man named Barnaby. Called me One-Hand Jones. I killed him in front of his wife, took his ring. This one, Edgar, fine sailor.
Oh.
I caught him drinking the captain's wine. I drowned him. Every ring
Oh.
is a sad story.
So you really want to know the truth no matter how awful?
I
Yes.
do. You picked yourself a fine home. I give you that.
I didn't pick it.
Yeah, this is the home he was gonna get. Yeah.
I can't tell you everything that happened between us until it's all over.
Why not?
Because if you knew what I was really after, you'd do everything in your power to stop me.
Oh.
Someone scream for a doctor?
Hey.
There's an angry baby inside of me. Get it out!
You know, the last time I delivered a baby, you tried to steal it.
Oh.
You tried to steal one.
What's with the dye job?
Oh, so Emma changes her hair and no one makes a fuss, but I get ridiculed? Yeah? Come on, you know you like it.
Oh my god, stop talking!
Is that because of
Last
iZombie?
time I was here. The only thing she needs other than Excalibur is
Cries of a newborn child.
Oh, she's not taking this baby.
Well.
You can have the flame.
Zelena, make sure that's real.
Yeah, what's in it? LOL!
Kill her mother.
Yeah, they do it really slowly, so there's still time.
if you cannot fight off the darkness, no one can.
Hey! Easy.
I said kill her! By the sword I command you!
Shut up. Huh. I mean, you probably could have done that a while ago.
This thing. Well, I've had worse cuts itching my nose with the wrong hand.
If only this were episode 22. I believe this was actually happening.
Him? No one knows the lore of darkness better than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, I know you, Emma. It took a long time, but I really know you. Those walls you put up, Emma. It's time they come down. What are you doing?
Oh.
Can you break the walls? As your friend, I command you.
Let's see how this goes.
One, tell me what you're really afraid of.
Gina, what are you doing?
I'm getting answers.
By controlling her. That's enough.
I mean, you want answers, right? I felt that could have worked.
You're almost there. You
Oh, this,
just need one more push.
this is taking a turn.
Look who's green with envy now.
Oh, shut up.
Look who's glowing.
Oh.
Congrats. That would be a problem if it was the baby I was after.
Oh. Well, that's fine. Not their best date, I don't think.
The darkness needs to be contained in a vessel. You.
Ew.
Emma, what are you going
You didn't want to harm the baby.
To be done. It was the same way with Neil. I could only admit my true feelings when I thought I was losing him and you.
That is true.
This is even worse than I thought.
I'm afraid because I do want a future with you.
You do?
Yes.
Hey.
No one hurts my sister but me.
You've got magic.
No. My hook does. As you recall, I imbued it with magic to rip your heart out.
Oh, yeah. So extra.
About that deal we made.
Good.
Should we get out of here?
Well, first time for everything.
Because deep down we both know you'll be happier when Zelena is gone.
Gone. This is not the way, Miss Swan, and you know it.
We're back to Miss Swan.
We'll start acting like Emma again and we'll talk.
Yeah.
You're joking. I actually keep my word. You decide to go down with the ship.
Don't stop, Emma.
I really don't know what's going to happen, which is pretty exciting.
And now you're going to tell me exactly what happened on Camelot to make you that way.
How are you going to make me do that?
I've got some ideas.
No.
No!
I bet you didn't see that coming, did you?
Of course, that's nothing compared to the surprise that you're feeling right now. You're saying to yourself, I just got stabbed in the chest. Why shouldn't it hurt more? Why am I not dead?
Oh.
What the hell is happening?
I can explain everything, Killian.
Oh, what did you do to him? Nope.
Look, what's wrong?
He's bleeding.
Oh! Alison doing her healing him.
Excalibur was forged to cut immortal ties. A wound from it cannot be healed.
What? There has to be something.
Oh no!
Its power isn't strong enough, nor is my own.
I can use the Promethean flame to release you from Excalibur, and then I can use it to tether Hook's life to it instead. It could save him.
Emma, you know what that could do?
Create another dark one.
It will multiply the darkness so that it cannot be destroyed, not without you paying the steepest of prices. It will be your final step into the dark.
Oh my god. So he's a dark one as well? Oh, like he spent so long hating the Dark One. For him to become one must be awful. Well, damn. Whew. Okay, I wouldn't have guessed that. Oh, there we go. But why does he not, like, have all those voices in his head and stuff like she did? Well.
I'm sorry.
So much for our future, Swan.
Oh, God. Because she blamed everyone. She said they all let her down.
Take care of her.
Oh, shit. But why did she say, like, oh, you all let me down? Is that just like a lie? Or... Oh my goodness. Whew. Okay, damn. That was a hell of an episode. I wasn't actually expecting so many answers just yet, because it felt like they were so slow going to give us any answers for this particular arc. So to get so much just in one episode felt a bit like, whoa, okay. But I'm glad we got a lot of details, and there were still some lingering questions, obviously. The big ones are just like generic, well, what the hell happens next? Why is this happening now? And then you're kind of thinking, well, why wasn't Hook being plagued by, hallucinations of previous Dark Ones and stuff? Like, is it just because he didn't have his memories and that somehow oppressed the darkness? Or, I feel like there needs to be some stuff explained there. And why did Emma say that everyone kind of let her down by letting her become the Dark One? And like, she blamed everyone except for Henry. So was that just a big lie to cover up what really happened and why she really went dark? And then we have that clip of Merlin from a few episodes back when they like tried to contact him. And the one when he was saying them, oh, the only one who can save you now is Nimue. Like, how is that going to come back to it? Like, Nimue's still around somehow. And then something seemingly happened to him, and we don't quite know what that's about as well. So there's still a few answers to kind of delve into. What's going to happen with Arthur? Felt like they just kind of cast him aside now that there's some answers very quickly, which I guess we'll just see how they continue to handle Arthur's arc. That just felt a bit like, oh, he doesn't actually matter now, bye. But I imagine there must be more to that, because he still put Marion under this spell and everything, so I'm sure he'll probably get some comeuppance at some point. So yeah, lots of things to still kind of find out and learn. Regardless, to get some proper answers, like Hook's a Dark One, which is crazy. I suppose you may not have predicted it just because I don't think they've ever really hinted that it was possible to have like more than one at the same time. But I really like the idea. And previous episodes like so focusing on it being like one at a time, like with Nimue and everything. It's kind of cool that they can change it up and be like, well, you can actually have two at the same time with this kind of loophole thing. And the fact that he didn't know that he was a Dark One, now he does. Is Hook going to become quite evil and dark now? Like he was saying this episode, whatever you've done, however awful, I'll forgive you for it. And then right at the end, he was like, well, bye Emma. What are we going to do about her? Who's kind of already turned on her. So the fact that he's the Dark One probably was the reason for that. And yeah, just the idea that since we met Hook, he's been against the Dark One. He's hated Rumpel for, all these years. And then everything with Emma happens and she becomes a Dark One. He's been kind of fighting to save her from that and fighting against that all this time, just to discover that he is one himself. That's going to be awful to kind of deal with, I would say. 'Cause that's just, I don't think he's ever hated anything more than the idea of the Dark One. And to know that he now is actually one, and the woman he loves the most made him that, I think that's going to be quite the betrayal and quite tough to deal with. So I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen with Hook's character going forward now that he knows this, especially if him and Zelena kind of like team up a bit, because they seem to be leaning towards that potentially in the next one, or at the end of this one. So yeah, that was a really cool twist that I really enjoyed. A cool motivation, just like a simple cut, and she like healed it, but that came back in such a huge way in the fact that you can't heal wounds from Excalibur, and it's actually going to kill him. The only way to save him was to do that, and that made her dark. I love that explanation. Obviously, it does pose like those more questions, like why does Emma think everyone might let her down? Why didn't she say all that? Because it doesn't really answer that. So I'm sure there's more to explore with that. But it's a cool kind of motivator. And it doesn't just like change things or like make huge revelations about the past and like, oh well, that makes sense now because the present itself is now hugely changed because now Hook is aware that he's a Dark One, and what's everyone else's reactions to that going to be? You know, can Gold maybe do something about that? Because we saw Hook go to Gold at the start in that really cool scene that I enjoyed. So they still have scenes together. One of them's the Dark One, which I think is quite fun. I think that could be a really interesting dynamic to change up now that Hook's the one who's the Dark One. Hopefully we'll get something like that. Cool parallels. There's a lot of parallels really, because how it went with Emma and Hook ultimately, very similar story to Merlin and Nimue, with one of them kind of becoming the Dark One ultimately. And like the idea of like trying to save the one they love most and everything. So there's a lot of parallels there. I thought that was very cool. And yeah, to see Gold say, you know, if you want to save Emma from the darkness and all that, you need to know what she's kind of repenting for. And it was kind of all down to him. He was what she was repenting for in a way. So he was kind of already teaching Hook about how the Dark One works. And he actually was one himself, not that he knew it. So hopefully I think that could be a good way of getting Gold involved more in this particular story. Because he's been quite outside everything that's been going on really. He hasn't had a lot of screen time this season. So that'd be a really cool way of bringing him into this plot line. And just to give Robert Carlyle a lot more to do than just be like the Rumpel vision in Emma's head. Because maybe now that Hook knows this, he could have visions of Rumpel and Nimue kind of, you know, goading him, etc., influencing him. So yeah, I just thought that's such a clever reveal and such a brilliant idea, and one that I never would have considered. But you can see why Emma made that choice, and you can see why Hook will be probably quite devastated and super angry about this. Lots of really interesting stuff like that, and even you know, setting up Emma giving Regina the dagger, saying, you know, you're the one who you're prepared to do what's necessary to kind of stop this and stop me. And she was trying to do that. She used a dagger to try and get those answers out of him, but everyone else stopped her. And I think they were like, oh, Zelena was wrong to do that. I actually thought it was a good idea. You know, it's not like, oh, jump off a bridge, Emma, you know, or the Dark One can't die or anything anyway. Like, it was a good way of getting answers, and you know, and it still kind of worked. She said because of that, she was kind of true to herself about, you know, why she doesn't want to give up the darkness. And, you know, it kind of ended up working anyway, so just let it happen. It's all very well and good being like, we'll save her, we're going to save her, we're going to do this, we hope, you know, we have hope, we're going to be able to fix this. I'm like, it's all very well and good, but fucking how are you going to do it? You have no plans. Let's try this. This is an idea. So I was actually kind of on Regina's side with that, and the fact that she kind of reiterated that they were friends now, and it's taken her a while, but she knows who Emma is. And then present day, she's gone back to calling her Miss Swan because she doesn't see her as Emma anymore. Lots of really interesting contrasts and parallels with all these scenes. So very well written. This probably was one of my favourites this season. I think it's one of the best written episodes this season so far, for sure. I think it's just satisfying to get proper answers for so long, because we haven't quite gotten them to this extent this season. So that was really fun. And loads of tying things together. You just see how they set all this up, like Emma being in this mysterious house, showing Hook around it. And then in this episode we find out that him and Henry had kind of chosen that house for their future together, all living together. So that kind of gives those scenes previously that you could rewatch, like the past episode now, where they kind of had dinner in that place, and it has so much more meaning now because you know exactly why Emma was there and how that all came to be. Really clever, layered kind of storytelling with that I really enjoyed. And seeing Dr. Whale, however briefly, was a good deal of fun. Bringing him back into like the Zelena story makes sense that they need the Doctor for that if she's going to give birth very quickly. Damn. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that actor's in iZombie, which is probably why he's not around that much in the show. And I think he dyed his hair, like he bleached his hair for his role in that. So I imagine that was what the in-joke was about there, which I thought was funny. And yeah, Zelena kind of giving birth now. They have a baby girl to deal with. So what's going to happen with that? I'm sure Zelena's going to be very keen to reunite with her daughter and protect her, but also maybe team up with Hook against Emma. So lots of things to juggle, lots of things going around. But I suppose it's good that they don't just do like a Maggie from Walking Dead situation where she's pregnant for 3 seasons or whatever. So yeah, I really, really liked the fact they brought that forward, and she's old, the baby's here now. So I think there's a few more interesting things that you can do with that. Zelena just, bringing all the outfits in this episode, in flashbacks, present day. She's always like dressing for the occasion when she got out of all those situations and stuff. And just Emma's plan for Zelena, like she wasn't after the kid, she just wanted the kid to be born so that she could use Zelena as a vessel to destroy this darkness. So the fact that we have a Dark One who does want to destroy the darkness to like save herself and Hook, I quite like that idea. It seems almost like, full of self-loathing, the idea of the Dark One wanting to destroy the darkness. And I think self-loathing is quite a common problem that a lot of the characters in Once Upon a Time have. So I really like the kind of hypocrisy, I guess, in a way, to that idea. I thought that was really interesting. And in order to, now that Zelena's given birth because of this plotline and what Emma needed to do with her Dark One stuff, it gives Zelena kind of a new aspect to her. She kept a deal in this episode, which is the most probably shocking plot twist of all, really. And she's a mother now. Robin's a father now. It's going to give them more to do. Regina might be struggling with balancing, Robin's commitment to his daughter and his commitment to her. Like, how is that going to affect things? There are a lot of characters in the show at this point. And they're often kind of left in the lurch, unfortunately, and like particularly Mary Margaret and David, they don't really get that much to do nowadays, which is kind of sad, considering how integral they felt at the start of the show. I feel like they've really lost that. They still have some good moments and stuff, but it's mainly just them supporting other characters and not really having their own storylines. Because even the whole thing with Maleficent last season, that feels like so far away now. And it's like, how much have they gotten since then, really? But with things like this, and with Zelena now having given birth, other characters who aren't explored as much, like Robin as well, I think has been a bit quiet this season. That gives him a lot to do now, and that can bring him into the spotlight, which I'm excited about. So just how they've kind of integrated all these little things, all these little stories, like seemingly unimportant scenes, like Hook getting that scratch on his neck, Emma healing it, actually came back in such a major way. I do feel like that happened very quickly. It felt very sudden, like, oh well, I guess he's dead and everything, and that's just the problem with it being a flashback. Like he's fine, he fixes it. So that kind of robs a lot of the tension for me. I'm sure that works fine for other people, but for me, I was like, well, we know he's fine anyway, so it's not like a particularly emotional sequence. Oh no, he's dead, but he's been alive in present day all season, so we know he's fine. But that's just kind of the issue with flashbacks, really. But yeah, just how well structured I think the storyline has kind of revealed itself to be. I feel like maybe the Snow Queen arc, I feel like that was a bit of a slow burner. But by the end of it, you could kind of see how well structured it was, I thought, anyway, and really well planned out. And I feel like this arc has just revealed itself to be very much the same thing. Slow builds and payoff. And now you're like, well, shit, when Hook was first introduced and everything, you ever thought he'd end up being a Dark One day, and he didn't even know about it for all this time. Really intrigued to see where that's going to go. I just think that's such a cool idea to have two Dark Ones about. It feels like, watching Doctor Who, there's a multi-Doctor story. There's some excitement to that idea. Because we've had, it really breaks the status quo, I would say. We've seen so many Dark Ones this season. We've seen the first Dark One. We've seen all the names on the dagger. We've seen like hallucinations of Rumpel and everything in Emma's head. And Emma's the Dark One as well. And now Hook's the Dark One. We're seeing lots of different ones. It just makes the lore feel even richer. And we're so used to only there being one Dark One at a time, really. To have two around now, and potentially at odds with each other, when you'd assume that all the Dark Ones would be kind of on the same side, but maybe they're not going to be. And I think that's such an interesting, cool idea. So yeah, loved everything with that. And it could bring characters like Gold into the main storyline, and now, Zelena, Robin are definitely going to have a bit more to do. Seeing Dr. Whale, seeing Henry briefly, in the scene when he kind of revealed what him and Hook were planning with the house and everything, and that brings more significance to earlier scenes in this season. You know, it just feels like, okay, this season's clicked now. This is how it was all kind of coming together. I do think, in terms of what they revealed and when, I think they could have probably done some improvement then. I feel like we should have gotten a few more like proper answers earlier on, because this episode was kind of like, it felt a bit like an info dump really, of answers, and therefore it felt a bit rushed to me, like Hook dying and everything, and it's just because they're in flashbacks. But it just feels so gratifying and satisfying to get some really cool answers. It poses some really interesting mysteries that we still haven't quite gotten some answers for, like I've already talked about. Just the idea of what happens next now with like 2 Dark Ones around. I love that idea, so I can't wait to see what happens next with that. But also these reveals can kind of change how you may rewatch the season now, when you can rewatch the Camelot flashbacks knowing what happens, and you can rewatch the present day scenes knowing what Emma and Hook and everyone kind of went through. And you can just, it will shift your perspective, I think. It just brings a whole new kind of level of detail to what's come before, which I think is a sign of pretty damn good writing, if you ask me. So I really, really love that a lot. And yeah, the Arthur stuff, it feels kind of a shame that he felt a bit cast aside in this episode, because I have enjoyed that different kind of interpretation of Arthur, but I do think there's still more to that story anyway, because it hasn't really been tied up with a bow, because everything with Guinevere and stuff. So I don't mind that per se, because I think we're going to get more. But yeah, considering the episode kind of started off with them going to confront Arthur and he escaped and everything, that's kind of the whole opening sequence. The fact that that wasn't really the point of the episode was kind of surprising, really. But I think you could argue that's a cool thing, because they've changed it up and everything. But yeah. I just feel like, yeah, like I've really enjoyed this arc so far, all the twists and turns and everything of it. But now, you know, I think I even said in the reaction, like, oh, I really don't know what's going to happen here. That's really exciting. And even having kind of a sense of what could happen, now I have a more clear idea. Now we know that Hook's a Dark One. You're like, well, this could happen, this can happen, this can happen. And that's exciting. Even like the idea that you could know what's going to happen from here, you get even like a slight sense of it, which I didn't have during the episode. Even that's exciting. And I think that's quite hard to kind of accomplish, really. So really, really intrigued to see where this is all going to go. I love the idea of Hook as the Dark One, and the fact that he may turn against Emma in this is obviously going to be painful, but really fun idea. Advancing Zelena's pregnancy and stuff, giving her a bit more to do, hopefully giving Robin something to do. How that tied into Emma's plans to like remove the darkness, I think it all made sense. There's still some gaps to fill in with that knowledge in the flashbacks and stuff I'm looking forward to getting more of. I really liked the scene with Gold. And yeah, it's just some really great moments. The scene with Regina, even like using the dagger on Emma to try and get the answers. Like, I was kind of on her side for that. It felt very true to Regina, and it proved that, you know, Emma was right to kind of trust her with that. And it was Mary Margaret and David who were like, we're going to save her. We have no plans to how we're going to save her, but we're going to save her. So you shouldn't have done that. Naughty, naughty. That was like, well, at least she's actually doing something. So yeah, really great reveals. Still a few answers and things I'm like, I guess we'll see what happens. But overall, awesome episode. I think it's really shifted this season now, and this arc, which I was already enjoying, has kind of brought it up to a whole other level. So I actually think the idea of 2 Dark Ones being around and 2 Dark Ones potentially being against each other, I think that's a more interesting and exciting idea to me than even Emma becoming the Dark One. Because I would have really liked to have seen Emma be really different as the Dark One. I just think that would have been a more interesting choice. But they could really do that because Emma was trying to convince everyone, like, oh, I'm still Emma, I'm still me. So they couldn't have done that anyway. It wouldn't have made sense because it would have been obviously not Emma if she was like, whoa. I just think, you know, from an acting standpoint, I think it would have been more interesting to see Jennifer be able to play something a bit different. So I was kind of a bit like, oh, okay, by that. But now they've changed it up all over again with Hook, and I'm intrigued to see how he's going to respond to this, where this is all going to go. So I think there's potential here to make this just the rest of the season. So I don't know if it's even going to be split into 2 different arcs. Maybe it will. I feel like it still will be, because the 100th episode, I think, would kick off the second arc if they are still following the previous formulas. Obviously, don't tell me if they are, but I think there's a lot of interesting material here to explore, and I'm excited as hell for it. Yeah, this really changed the game, this episode. I adored it. Easily the best written episode for me of the season so far. Loved getting all these answers. Just like desperate to see what's going to happen next, basically, which is the sign of a hell of an episode. Yeah, really good stuff. Looking forward to more. And yeah, until next reaction, thanks for watching.